they called me when my family was in town visiting my boyfriend for the first time, and I moved in with my boyfriend after 2 weeks of dating him.
Good idea.
So, that my dad, it always works out when you do that. We're still together, so it's good. But anyway,
okay.
My parents were in town, and I got a call, and they're like, hey, we loved you. You come, test with Dennis Leary. And I was like, oh, wow, that's great. Like, when? And we were, like, picking out what to eat for dinner. I'm like, when do I come? They're like, oh, now. And I was like, So I had to get on a plane that night. And I was like, hey, I hope you guys have the best time. I actually have to peace.
How long had your boyfriend known your parents at that time?
No, this was like this was the first thing. So I literally left my parents with my boyfriend, and they had their own private vacation without me to get acquainted.
Oh, I think that's that's a terrible thing to do.
Well, I said when I got to the audition, I said to Dennis, I'm like, I just want you to know what went down. I literally left my boyfriend and my family together for the first time, so you better cast me in this.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
He's like, are you effing kidding me? Why would you do that to the poor guy? And
I assume it went okay, though, right? If you're still together?
Yeah, it went great. I mean, it was fine. They just came back out again, and yeah, it's all...
It sounds like maybe it didn't go all right.
What?
So then you moved to New York to do the show, right?
Yeah,
And did he
I'm from New Jersey, actually.
I just read that you got married during this time.
I did get married. I had a whole big wedding plan, and then I just ended up getting married on a farm with 12 people, and it was perfect, and I would never do it differently. It was the best. Last year, my husband and I, during the pandemic, bought an RV, a big Class A RV. He'd never driven one. I don't drive. And we thought it would be fun. And we're like, oh, we'll get the biggest one because that'll be so smart.
Because it'll be just so much room for us.
There'll be so much room for us to run around, for all our dogs. Like,
there's just no room for the RV.
Oh my God. So it's like tilting off of our driveway. It almost fell over when we brought it home. And we drove it up to our wedding because we didn't know what was going on back then. We didn't want to use public restrooms and we didn't want to fly. So we got this RV and it was like the carbon monoxide alarm was going off the whole time. The dogs were screaming. This woman hit our RV after he drove it perfectly there, which was such an accomplishment. Some woman just backed into it like an idiot. So it was just such a buzzkill. We're like, oh my God. Anyway, long story short, everything broke. Doors were falling off. It was insane. So we resold it immediately after the wedding.
Do you have any plans on getting another one?
Oh my God, no. Like we took a huge loss and it needed to go away. Listen, it was really fun. I regret nothing. I have some amazing photos of, so this is what's really weird. After I got married on this farm in New Jersey, we drove off in our RV, but my mom and my grandma were like, oh my God, we'll come back with you. That'll be so fun. We've never been in an RV. So my honeymoon was basically driving back to Atlanta in a hot AC-less RV with my mother and my grandmother. And it was insanity. But I mean, I'll never forget it. And it was beautiful. And I have some great photos of all of us.
What were the wedding plans before everything shifted to the farm?
I was already like, I was already kind of not into it. I was kind of getting bummed. I was like, I don't really want to have this big wedding. I don't feel like it. Because I always fantasized about having a really simple, rustic wedding. We weren't going to do anything. And then I started Googling farms because, I had so much time. I was so bored. I was like, what if you get married on a farm? Farms are open. They're outside. What if it's like an inn? If I find an inn and it's just whoever can drive there. And that's it. Your parents, my grandma. Let's just see if we can do it. And we did. I found this farm and they had all these COVID restrictions and they were super amazing. There was a woman there who just took care of our dogs the whole night and make sure they were fed. And they cooked for us and it was this beautiful inn and they all wore masks and it was super safe and special and quaint and perfect.
Will you tell us how you met your husband? And I know you had a small wedding, but I'm always interested in wedding drama, if there was any.
Yeah, I met my husband years ago. I had a crush on him, and I didn't have any plans of what to do with that crush. I just knew I had a crush on him. And years later, we got together sort of by my willing it. And we've been together for over 8 years now. So it's been a long time, and we are definitely meant to be together. And, we're, I guess, soulmates or whatever, if you believe in that. So it all is great. Years later, when I was dating my now husband, I broke up with him after a year. And I was in such inconsolable pain from breaking up with him that I knew I had made a huge mistake. And we got back together.
Do you mind my asking what the impetus for that first breakup was?
I think there's something that happens at a year and a half for all couples. I know they say 7 year or whatever, but I swear to God, a year and a half is this weird thing where it's sort of like, what's the deal? Is this forever? Is this for right now? We were living together as well. So we love a lot of the same things. We have a lot of the same interests, but we're very different and we deal with things very differently. And so I sort of got fed up with the way that he dealt with things and he was sort of getting fed up with me and it just, something's got to give. So I pulled the plug to see what would happen if we ended things, because I felt like he was going to break up with me anyway. I was like, one of us has to do it. So let's just see. And then after that, I feel like we made the necessary changes because sometimes you have to see what that looks like. You have to see what living without the person looks like. And you have to go through that pain almost like a death. And then you come to know how important that person is or is not to you. You know what I mean?
Oh, what's that stupid thing that people say? If you love something, let it go. And if it comes back, like, it's meant to be or whatever. And there is truth to that.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's used as an excuse. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was like, I felt like it was permanent. I didn't do it as a test. I didn't do it as like here you go. Here's something to freak you out. Let's get you, like into shape. I truly moved on, tried to. Could not stop thinking about him.
Was it because your lives you didn't see them blending together?
I couldn't see our lives blending together at the time. And I wanted to, and I couldn't. Even though I was young, I was like, I don't want to waste my time. You don't want to waste your time. You're older than me. Why would you want to waste your time? So let's just stop now and let's try to find someone for you and I'll find someone for me. And I don't think this is it. And it just like day after day was just eating away at me. And all I wanted to do was be back there. I commit. I always commit. When I make a decision, I moved out that day. I rented an apartment. I signed a 2-year lease. We got back together 3.5 weeks later. And I had that lease and I had to break that lease. I mean, I moved all my furniture and I got new furniture. I'm like very much a homemaker. So I like made my new life, made my house. And then I just was sitting in there like, oh. And then you ask yourself, is this because I should be going out? And I should be meeting people. And it was like a cozy sweater that you don't want to get rid of because it's so cozy. Or is the sweater like essential for my life because that's my soulmate? And it turned out to be that. And I took the time to think about it. But no, I mean, look, we're married now.
How did you woo him back?
I didn't really need to. He was trying to get me back.
Oh, that's really sweet.
He was really mad in the beginning. And then it became like everything I wanted that he would always say, no way, no. Because I'd be like, you never want to go see theater with me. And he's like, I don't want to see theater. I'm so sorry. I don't want to do that at all. And I was like, you never want to travel. I want to travel. So then he like texted me a couple weeks in like, I just bought tickets to Hawaii. Do you want to go to Hawaii? And I was like, oh my God, like, no, but I get your point and that's cute.
You're like, I don't like warm weather. I don't like being outside.
I'm like, you weren't listening. I'm like, that sounds like more of a you thing. I definitely don't like the beach, but then, yeah, he's like, I got tickets to Book of Mormon at the Pantages. It's like, oh my God. So I was like, all right, if he's going to like meet me in the middle. And then I met him in the middle. I had some growing up to do as well. I wanted to see like, hey, what does me living in an apartment in my 20s by myself look like? And the answer was, I wasn't into it. I didn't want to date. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to be with him. And so it was good. It worked itself out.
Michael, my husband has 2 teenagers.
That's my husband's name.
I know. And I was going to ask you this. Does he go by Michael or Mike?
Okay, so all his friends call him Mike and I call him Michael.
My Michael's totally a Michael.
And recently, if we fight, I'll call him Mike. I'll be like, all right, call him Mike.
Yeah. Oh, that's really fun.
Like I only started doing it last week. I kind of love it. We're not even really fighting. I'll just be like, if he's annoying, I'll just be like, okay, Mike. He don't like it.
That's awesome.
But no, he's like a Michael through and through to me. You know what I mean?
Yep, I completely get you. You have advice for a healthy relationship.
Learn how to fight. That really is my best advice. Learn how to fight with your significant other. And I'm not saying you should fight. I'm just saying learn how to fight because there's no 2 people fight the same exact way. And sometimes you'll get into a fight. And if you can learn to know the other person and learn to be mature enough to avoid certain topics and to kind of do it in a healthy way. I know this is a really weird thing to say. It's just like fighting is inevitable and it's going to happen. Also, if I talk to any older couples been together 30, 40, 50 years, they're like, sounds like you guys don't know how to fight yet, like years ago, and I'll be like, what does it mean know how to fight? And they're like, it's important to, when you have arguments or tiffs, to have kind of like a weird set in plan of how they're going to go about. So it doesn't just fly off the rails and you don't just hit below the belt and it doesn't get really ugly. There are ways to kind of be passionate and emphatic, but still not kill each other, emotionally. You can do it in a productive way.
Are you good at apologizing?
No, I'm not good at apologizing. I will if I'm in the wrong, but I can really convince myself I'm not in the wrong. But if I'm really in the wrong, if I just kind of went on a tear, then yeah, I will apologize. But I don't throw out apologies just so things will be over. And also, I would say don't build a case. Like if something's bothering you, even if it's against your personality type, if you can try to address it in the moment or give a heads up, like, hey, I'm feeling this way, or hey, I don't like when you say that, rather than building a case, because there's nothing worse than like a week later, they'll be like, well, you did this and this and this and this last week, and these 4 things are why I'm mad at you today. And I'll be like, what? That's insane.
That is great advice. Don't build a case.
Don't build a case. I hate that because then you feel attacked, Then it's like, I thought that was a nice day we had. You were thinking about that thing? I had no idea. Yeah. So just little things. But I mean, they're hard. Relationships are hard. I had a super special time there for 10 years. And it was also like the bulk of my time with my husband was there. And so it was really magical in that way, like kind of, being in love in LA. And I was also unemployed for the whole beginning of it. And so we would just ride bikes and like go to the beach. And it was really special.
You've also had a really busy, exceptional year, even though it was COVID.
Yeah.
You got married, right?
I did. I got married. I got married. My anniversary is actually, I think, for the 8th. So what is it today? Yeah, it's very soon.
Oh, you're still a newlywed.
I know we've been together for almost 10 years, but I'm a newlywed.
Right.
It's such a weird, it's funny when you get married, it's like, it starts back to 1 and everyone treats us like we're a young 1-year couple. And I'm just like, oh, not at all. But
yeah.
That's sweet. Yeah. I had this huge wedding plan and then I ended up getting married on a farm in New Jersey with 10 people. And it was amazing. It was
That's so cool.
Perfect. Oh, it was perfect. I would never redo it. I don't want to do over it all. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And no one got COVID.
No, you're like, listen, it was a success. No one got COVID. It was a very successful wedding.
Yeah, it was hard to get tested back then. So we took a big swing and we had, like my grandparents were there and I was just like, oh man, if this does not go the way I hope, I'm going to feel really bad. But we pulled it off and it was beautiful.
The whole wedding thing, I think the smaller, that just sounds ideal in my personal
It was perfect.
opinion. Yeah.
It was so humid and hot because it was August, of course, in New Jersey.
How was your hair?
All my makeup. Oh, no. So I did my own hair and makeup as well as my grandma's and my mom's. I didn't even have hair and makeup people.
That's so sweet.
I know I was going to have this big drag wedding at like the St. Regis in Atlanta. And then I turned out having like a full farm moment and it was amazing. But yeah, I have really curly hair. So right after I got married, my hair was out to here curly and I had no makeup on. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah,
whatever.
You were Monica in Barbados.
I literally was exactly what I was. It's so funny. Yes.
That's very cool.
Liz is very happily married to an amazing guy. And they're supposed to be together. And, they both turned to huge, great friends of mine. So her and her husband, wrote the song for the show that she sings. And it's really beautiful. It's a very lovely, I know some of the producers said that they got all like choked up and teary eyed when they watched it.
Will you ever sing in an upcoming season?
Oh man. So Liz and her husband, Michael, have they wrote a song for me to sing. I know they want me to do it really bad, and eventually I will lay it down and see what my vocal range is.
No, I mean I was watching it with my husband when I got the cut, and we were making like predictions. We're like, wait, is that? Because I actually didn't. I knew who was playing. No, Stephanie was playing Batwoman. Right. I knew a couple of them, but we would hear voices and be like, and then we'd look it up and we were like, yeah, that's so cool.